Ba, 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 ba. Oh, Deadpool's not in the movie. I just felt the need to wear that shirt because I'm hoping for the future. Hi, I'm Andre and I'm a black nerd. Avengers Endgame. I know everyone's seen it. I know it's made $1 billion in like a day. I already put out a video of my time in Japan where I actually got to see the movie in Japan because I couldn't wait. And I made a little video about that, so be sure to check that out. But that was sort of the general feelings I had about the movie. This is now going to get a little bit more deep divey into how I feel about specific parts of the movie. This is probably more plot synopsis talk more than review talk. So that means there will probably be something that some people will consider spoilers. I'm not going to go all in on spoilers. There's going to be a couple things I'm still going to leave out. But I will be getting a little bit more into some details of plot that have not been seen in some of the trailers. So in that instance, that is spoilery. So what I really loved about Avengers Endgame is it kind of plays in three very specific parts. There's the dramatic part at the beginning, because this is, of course, is the aftermath of what happened after Avengers Infinity War. Thanos snapped that finger, and now half of the universe is gone. And the Avengers feel bad because they failed. And they're all taking it in different ways. Especially when they also encounter Thanos after the snap and go after him again. But he's all like, sorry, y'all. I used the stones to destroy the stones. And the stones are gone. So what's happened? Happened. No turning back, or so they think. Iron Man, who we've seen in space, gets his way back home thanks to a little Captain Marvel action, and he feels like his fellow Avengers, particularly Cap, abandoned him, so he wants something more to do with it. He's got Pepper, he even has a daughter, it's all family style for him. He's not thinking about helping out anybody else anymore. Cap, of course, feels sad. Black Widow keeps trying to save the world when everyone's like, look, there's not really a lot to save right now because half of them gone. They do mention an earthquake that happens under Wakanda, underwater, so I don't know if that was setting something up. Some people have got some theories about that. They put the waterworks on you in this movie so early in the movie, because the moment that Hawkeye first scene is hanging out teaching his daughter archery, the mom and the sons are having a picnic, I'm like, why y'all doing this to me? I know where this is gonna go. And sure enough, Hawkeye turned around and get some new arrows and turned back and saw a bunch of dust. And I'm just like, no! And that's really cool because, well, it's not cool, you know, I'm sorry about your family. But it was cool of how he made a response to that by going, I'm going to be a vigilante now. I'm going to just dress up in all black, be Ronin. And this basically goes out and says, hey, if you're one of the half that stayed in this universe, but you're a bad person, I'm going to kill you because you don't deserve to be here when my family, who was cool, is gone. And I like, that's a really cool concept. And you get this really awesome action scene with him. Like, I want to see that be almost its own like side story, like limited series or movie. That could be a whole interesting thing of like his time being that character or being that way, because they push the limits. There's a part where someone gets sliced, like some blood comes out, but it's almost like a little bit of like the constantly checking the MPAA and be like, all right, how much blood can we let out? Okay, he's got a little drop here. Is that cool? All right, we got a little neck slice. Is that cool? Okay, just a little bit more blood. Is that, can we still stay PG-13? Like, I feel like they were just checking the entire time, finding the appropriate amount of blood that they could show before they would go into our territory. But that was really interesting, man. And the most interesting one is Thor. Thor, of course, feels really bad because he should have aimed for the head. So he aims for the head eventually, but he feels terrible about what happened because he feels like a personal failure. And because of that, he lets himself go, man. I mean, literally lets himself go. And it was a very interesting thing that was going on with Thor, because you could just tell how he was trying so hard to be like, I'm good. My friends here, we're playing Fortnite. That is legit. They play Fortnite in this movie. And he's just like, I'm cool. I'm drinking beer. Got a little bit of a gut now. But you could tell that he's still hurting. And it's just a very interesting concept of watching somebody who, you know, has to live with this guilt that he put upon himself, that he was the failure. And some people understanding it, some people not. But I thought it was a very interesting take, and just again proves just how good Chris Hemsworth is in character and comedy and drama and everything. Like, he's awesome. Like, when you think about that first Thor to now, it's really awesome. Same thing with Cap. When you think about the first Captain America to now, you just see this evolution of that character of Captain America, and just and a lot of these characters. I mean, even with like Black Widow, you see that arc. Nebula has an amazing arc and a great performance by Karen Gillan. I loved the dramatic pieces about it, the way that people handled post-snap. There were just some heartfelt moments, some great conversations where no action was taking place. There's a wonderful section with Captain America and Black Widow where they're talking, and it's just a good scene. You know what I mean? So it's like that kind of stuff I loved. Very interesting to see what's going on with these characters post-snap. But of course, you gotta save the day. And who better to help save the day than Ant-Man? Ant-Man is so good in this. I just want to throw that out there. So if you remember from Ant-Man and the Wasp, you know, we got the quantum realm going on. So that leads into the second part of the movie, which Ant-Man even says himself in the movie, time heist. You probably assumed that this was going to happen. I mean, even the commercials with seeing them in the quantum suits kind of alluded to this. Of course, some time travel got to go down. And I think this was a really cool part of the movie because what they basically do is go back through various other Marvel movies. So it's kind of like this nice, not only a closure of this chapter, but kind of like a nice, like, hey, remember the hits? And even some not hits. There's a couple of movies that you were probably thinking, oh, if I want to watch all the Marvel movies, I can skip Thor the Dark World. And this movie was like, no, you can't. Every movie counts. So, yeah, it was really cool to see them go back and hit these specific moments in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and figuring out what they need to do differently to get the stones, to get everybody back. You got some nice little crossovers. You got some seeing scenes that you've seen before, but from different angles. Some characters meet themselves, and it's like how they are now versus how they are then. And some characters meet characters that have been a part of their past. There might be even a couple of switcheroos going on. It's just a really interesting take, and they do a really interesting take on the concept of time travel, because time travel is now becoming, for some reason, a regular part of movies. I mean, we had a couple movies this year alone already, before this one, that involved time travel in some way. So it's very interesting, their take on it, which is the fact that it's not changing the past to change the future. So it's not going back in time before snap and stopping the snap, but it's literally like, no, we got to go get those stones that are gone now, because we got to go back there, come back here, and redo it. But it's not redoing the past. Like the future is always going to be the past, but they have to now create a new future based on going back in the past, which is actually their present to the past. They explain it better than I do. But the bottom line is, it's not something as simple as just go back a few years and just change that part. It's like, no, you got to go a full circle around, and then you got to go a full circle back, because if you don't fix stuff, then that might mess up other stuff. And what it really was starting to do is bring up the concept of alternate realities, which I don't know if this is Marvel's way of maybe opening up a multiverse, but I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Through all of this, though, basically what you get is some great comedic scenes, some great dramatic scenes, some great action sequences, some great heist stuff. It's like, if you like the heist stuff from the Ant-Man films, this feels like that on a grand scale, because it's involving so many of the Avengers. When you're dealing with time travel, you're gonna have those people. I'm not one of those people, but I'm sure some people are gonna sit down and think really hard about this time travel and think about, like, well, they could have done this, did this, or did this. And if you want to play that game, play that game. I'm not going to play that game. I'm actually fine with what I got, but I'm sure that some people are going to probably find some loopholes or plot holes or whatever from that. And that's understandable. But for me, I enjoyed what was made in world as explanation. I enjoyed how it all played out. The time heist stuff was just fun. Just seeing them jump through different pieces of time, but in my opinion, different Marvel movies, was just interesting. Really enjoyed that. And like I said, could possibly set up the possibilities of alternate worlds. There may even be some people that go on the mission that don't come back, and that's going to lead to some sad times. I will not say any who or why or how, but it was really emotional in that part. And you think everything's good, but then of course eventually somebody figures out what's going on, and that's when we get to the third act of the movie, which is just straight up fan service. If you want to see a bunch of your Marvel heroes side by side fighting together against giant CGI beasts in the air, on the ground, whatever you wanted, everybody shows up. You know, I'm sorry. You probably assume that some characters that were dusty come back undusted. I mean, we already got Spider-Man Far From Home coming up, so I think it's pretty clear to say that some characters return that we thought were gone. But we basically get a bunch of heroes, a bunch of sidekicks, a bunch of people from various worlds fighting pretty much every villain we have encountered in this entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. The ones that are still around, that is. It's just insane. It's just insane. And everybody gets their moment. Every character gets a time to really show off their thing, either on their own or with others. Cap gets a moment that we all were thinking was going to come. If you remember a certain scene from Age of Ultron, you're like, maybe one day, today is that day. And boy, when it happened, I was like, woo! I was like that for the American screening that I watched when I got back. I did not do that in Japan, because Japan, they were really silent watching the movie, but still enjoying themselves. But no hooting and hollering. When I got back and watched it here in the States, I hooted, I hollered. I hootenannied. It was just insane, man. I was just so excited about it. I could have had that go longer. I think if there's one thing I would have wanted from this movie, and I understand because it's like, hey, you don't want to show so many fighting scenes, but I would have been totally fine with that continuing on and on, just that entire fight. I would have been so down for it because I was just having so much fun with it. All the team ups and everything happened. Groups coming together. They're like, hey, look at that cool thing that we did that's just cool for this movie. Hey, look at this cool group that we did that we might do in a future movie. Who knows? Like, it's just really awesome to see all that happen. And of course, that culminating into some closures for some characters. And I will not say how, and I will not say in what ways. I will say this. There are definitely a couple of characters that I figured this is probably the end for them. But when I say the end, I don't mean like necessarily death. I just mean like somehow, some way, this will be their ending. It could be ending as in death. It could be ending as in closure. It could be ending as in just moving on, being a mentor. I thought there was lots of different ways it could have ended for certain characters. And the characters that I assumed were probably going to be like, this is it. Please let me go. Those characters, it is it for them, but in various ways. And pretty much in every way that it was it for them, I knew it was that character, but I didn't know in what way. And in each way, it kind of surprised me, which I thought that was really amazing. That I kind of knew or had a feeling about certain characters that this would probably be the closure of their story, but not knowing exactly how it was going to close. And it leads to these wonderful just moments where you just see so many characters together and you feel like that there is a little bit of a ceremony in movie for certain characters, but also a ceremony out of movie for these people that have worked so hard on this film. It's just fascinating. I mean, when you just really think about this type of movie and this type of franchise, I'm just in shock that this happened. I mean, you think about the number of movies, the number of years, the number of connections, the number of actors in this thing. It's just so impressive how it pulled off, and for it to be as successful as it was. And the only complaints I really have about this movie is I didn't mind it was 3 hours long. I think there are some parts of the movie that could have been shrunk and some other parts of the movie that could have been extended. There's a couple of scenes, especially a couple like the more comedic and kind of just non sequitur scenes. I feel like you could have either chopped or shrunk a little bit so that more things like the action scenes or more of the time heist could have led to some longer and more eventful moments. Because like some of the characters don't get as much screen time as I would like. You know, like I said, everyone gets their moment, but there are some characters that don't talk that much. There's some characters that are kind of more, nice celebrity background. So, it's been nice to be able to extend some of that a little bit more and cut some of the other stuff, because especially when you got all those people together, when you got that many people together, you want to use as much of them as you can. And I understand you can only do so much, particularly when it comes to action scenes, but it just would have been nice. Obviously, when you're dealing with so many characters, something's going to get left behind. Some characters going to get left behind. Some plot points get left behind because you got a lot of things to do. But for as much as you have to do, the Russo brothers did it. And the actors did it. So many people did it. This movie's just so good. This is just an amazing closure, an end of a chapter. Even though the Marvel Cinematic Universe, even though Marvel movies are going to continue for this phase that I have been with since the first Iron Man. I missed a couple of movies first run, but I eventually saw them all. But it's just interesting to see how from that first movie to now, just how much this world was and how much it meant to me, that when certain things happen to certain characters, I cried. Like, I felt that tear come right down that cheek at certain moments. I'm just so impressed by this. I'm just so impressed by what Avengers Endgame did and what the Marvel Cinematic Universe in general did with this. It's just so impressive. So cool. So awesome. Just seeing all those characters come together, seeing that line of Marvel heroes running into battle, ready to go. Avengers Assemble. Just so good. These are the type of superhero movies, and not only that I want, but never even thought would ever exist. And now it does. So, you can have your criticism, you're allowed, but for me, this is just something that I just know would never been a thing I would have ever had in my life, ever. And for that, even with the small nitpicks aside that I would have about the movie, I am just ultimately impressed that a movie like this even exists, and on top of just existing, also being as entertaining and great as it was. And I love it. People are gonna probably be like, do you love Infinity War more or whatever? I mean, I probably, but it's like, I also don't really see them as two separate movies. I kind of see it as a whole story. I can't wait to have them together, or I guess I could watch Infinity War and then go to the theater, but it'll be nice to have like the opportunity to watch them together to see how much it connects together as a complete story. But yeah, but I also think that Infinity War has the advantage of bringing the characters together, whereas Endgame is really about trying to close the story and take care of the problem that happened from Infinity War. But yeah, man, but it's just really good. Love a lot. In case you don't know, I have a rating system based on Care Bears. Love a lot being the top rating, and of course, Avengers Endgame gets it. It's so good. I love it. It's just I've already seen it twice. Want to see it again. Want to probably see it again multiple times if I can in theaters, but definitely, you know, gonna buy it and watch it or whatever. It's like it's a part of my life. And of course, just interested to see what happens next. You know, obviously we're getting Spider-Man Far From Home, but after that, like, what's going to happen with the MCU? What is the next phase? What is the next idea? Is it going to be trying to create a new team of Avengers with some of the characters we've had before versus new characters they're going to come up with? Are they going to focus more on some standalone movies? Maybe I'll make a whole video about that. I'm not real big on the predictions, but, you know, if you want that, let me know. But yeah, man, a lot of good stuff in this movie. A lot of good moments. Just great stuff. Thank you. Thank you, Marvel. Thank you, everyone who worked on any of these movies throughout the course of the past 10 of 11 years. You know, the 22 films. Because this is truly a thing that has never been done before, and I don't know if it'll ever be done again. It's gonna take something pretty major, even from Marvel itself, to do something like this ever again. But this was absolutely impressive, and the fact that it was also good and entertaining and enjoyable and great. Let's keep that in mind too. You pulled something off, and it also was entertaining and good and great. But like I said, I'm not here to tell you how to think. These are my opinions. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you appreciate it. If you have any thoughts about Avengers Endgame, feel free to put them in the comments. Some keywords might still be muted. I'll try to fix that. If you like what I do here, thank you so much. And please subscribe and show your support. I really just appreciate it. It's just great to talk movies with you. Not necessarily always review, but just talk movies. And other pop culture things that I like to talk about. And if you ever have suggestions for what those things are, hit me up. I love you like a play cousin. I'm Audi 5000. Avengers Assemble.